Hello, people of the world watching car and campfluencer content on the internet. My name is Drew. This is the 4-Wheel Drew channel, and this is my 2004 Toyota Sequoia behind me. Today, we are in another episode of doing just some hopefully quick and easy basic maintenance on the Sequoia. It's about to hit 200,000 miles, and I have a lot of work to do. Today, it should be pretty easy though. All we're doing is changing the spark plugs. Let's get into it. So as always, guys, this is not mechanical advice because I have no clue what I'm doing. I hope you just enjoy the ride and maybe you can learn from some of the mistakes that I will inevitably make. Today, all we have are 2 4-packs of Denso, which is the OE equivalent, Iridium long life spark plugs. I've got 8 total. We're gonna be replacing all 8 spark plugs today. I believe spark plugs should be replaced every like 60,000 miles, but mileages can vary depending on the car make, model, and the type of spark plug that you used. Just for reference, these are the Denso Iridium Long Life SK20R113297 spark plugs. So I've done a little bit of research on YouTube from some creators that are much better than myself, and it seems like a pretty straightforward job. Again, I've never done this before and I have no clue what I'm doing, but all I should need is a 10mm socket wrench and a Phillips head screwdriver to disassemble the intake manifold. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna start on the easier side. There's a little bit more stuff in the way over there. The good news here is that we shouldn't need to take off the intake manifold. All the ignition coil packs that we'll need to remove are right here. Each one of them has a 10mm bolt. So I've got my socket with a 10mm bolt. It might be a little bit easier just to get into this area and around the power steering fluid reservoir to have a shorter, stubbier socket, but this is what I'm working with, so this is what we will try. On some 2UZ models, I mean, this motor was used all the way from, I believe, like 99 through 2008 or 9. So it was used on multiple models. It was used most primarily on the Sequoia, the Tundra, and the 100 series Land Cruiser. So some iterations do have covers. I believe the 100 series Land Cruiser has a nice big fat cover on it. This one just has a small little iForce V8 logo, so you know what you're looking at, with the beautiful early 2000s aluminum style head showing through, which I absolutely love. So the good news is we won't have to take off this intake manifold. It is totally fine here, but if you have a 100 series Land Cruiser, you might have more room taking it off. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove the 10mm sockets. And be very careful about not losing anything in the engine bay. I am a rookie and that would be par for the course. Got a little catch can right there. And again, some of these are gonna be a little tricky just because you've got some of these wires in the way, and if your car is as old as mine, which it probably is if you're watching this video, you know that all of this lovely rubber and plastic likes to get very brittle in this car's old age, so it's always wise to keep it as unbothered as possible. It's kind of funny how dusty and red everything is. I just detailed this motor a couple months ago and primarily just did highway driving until I got to Utah. And that's when all the fun began. And that's when this engine turned from beautiful silver and black to a nice coppery brown red color. But that's okay. Cars were meant to be driven, not preserved, in my opinion. So seeing a dusty engine bay makes me very happy. And it'll make me even happier once I clean it. So I'm just undoing all the bolts at the same time, just because I like to do one step completely and then move on. I don't want to do, you know, one coil pack, undo it, replace the spark plug, and then move on to the next one, and then kind of lose track of my steps. I like to do everything step 1, everything step 2, kind of like an assembly line. Something that I'm not doing here that might be advisable to do at home, because I have the advantage of having some footage to look back at if I ever need to. But if you're ever working on your car, particularly if you're doing something for the first time and you're like a little unsure about how you're doing it and you're maybe at the edge of your mechanical expertise, it's always wise to take pictures of every step of the process. That way, when you go back to put everything back together, you can look and say, did that bolt go there? Or did that bolt go there? You know, was this oriented this way or this way? What did it look like before I started messing with things? It saved me a lot of times, and it could definitely save you. So each ignition coil pack is going to have a wiring harness with a classic little push tab that probably hasn't been taken off in years, so it's going to be particularly difficult to pull off now. Flathead screwdriver might be helpful for this one. Last thing you want is for one of these bad boys to break, and then you're in way over your head in terms of what you should be doing. This is a great reminder that if you're anything like me, you usually start working on the truck and then remember that you have gloves, and then you're like, oh, I'm already dirty, why does it matter? There's a lot of dirt and grime in here. Throw on some gloves if you have them. You'll thank yourself later. So we are gently just pushing this little tab in, and then we're gonna pull the wiring harness off of the coil pack. And I'm probably gonna cut it here so that it doesn't look like it took me forever to do this. Mistake number one, new plan. I'm putting the bolt loosely back on the coil pack so that it doesn't wiggle while I'm trying to pull the wiring harness off. Hopefully, it'll come off here in a second, but it really doesn't want to. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you'll hear a click. You'll hear a click when the tab goes in, and then it should come right off. Now we're just repeating the process for each wiring harness for each coil pack. And hopefully there's that click. I don't know if you can hear that if the mic is picking it up. So what you're gonna hear, if you can hear it, is there it is, and then it'll come right off. Hopefully that worked and it wasn't just like super muffled. All right, last coil pack on this side, and it's a little bit more challenging because there's some things in the way, but I have the utmost confidence that me and this flathead screwdriver can get it done. I'm trying to put my finger on the back of the screwdriver so that something is pushing up and out as my other hand works around it to try to wiggle it loose. But it really doesn't want to go. Oh, there's the click. And these should have a little suction to them, so we're just gonna slowly and gently pull these bad boys out. We are putting them back in the vehicle, so it is important. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. Very nice, very clean, untouched, really. That's great. That means that the seal here is working despite all this dust. And again, we are repeating the process for the 4 on this side. There's a bit of this one's a little dusty right here, but I think it's when it's just hitting the outside as I'm pulling it out. And final one back here. Again, this one's a little challenging. It's hard to get your hand around it. But we are just gonna follow the same process and gently wiggle and pull. There it goes. It's a very satisfying sound when it does plop out. Next up, you're gonna need your socket wrench again. This time I've got an extender with the 10mm on the front. That way I can get down into those holes and get at whatever angle I need to gently undo the spark plug. Okay, I moved you over a little bit just so you can kind of see what we're doing here. So I've got all the ignition coil packs out. It wasn't turning because the spark plug calls for a 5/8 or 16mm, whatever you have, they both should work just fine. This feels like overkill. This is just the only extender that I have that fits my 5/8. If you can find something smaller, great. Might help you a little bit get some stuff out. But so we're just gonna set it in there gently, try to find where it falls into place here. You should make wrenches with little flashlights on the end. I feel like that would be very helpful for this kind of a job. Just to demonstrate, the spark plug is down in that hole where the ignition coil pack was just pulled out. And what we're trying to do is get something long enough that goes over. Oh, that's why it's not working. So we need a 5/8 or 16 millimeter that's long enough to go the length of this to reach this right here, this silver hexagonal part of the spark plug. So this isn't gonna work. Let's find something else. Okay, hallelujah. We got a 5/8, a little extender, and a wrench. So I don't know why I didn't see all this earlier. Whew, I was worried I was gonna have to go to the hardware store. So we're gonna set it to the off position and we are gonna try this one more time. Oh, it just barely, oh, wow. That's just barely not long enough. Okay, let's find another extender. All right, mistake number 4, 3, 5, I don't even know. We need something to grab that spark plug. A little magnetic extender tool would be great, or if you have like a magnetic screwdriver, those are fantastic. Unfortunately, I don't think I have those things, so I'm going to try to delicately grab it with these needle nose pliers. I guess this will be kind of like a game of operation. Let's find out if this works. Okay, nice and smooth, and oh, look at that. Oh, and look at that, these things are, I don't know if you can see that, there is. Here, let me show you the difference. Oh, and they are Denso, that's good. So here is the old spark plug, and here is the new spark plug. Look at that difference. It's almost like the tip isn't even there anymore, but it's like a bigger one. I don't even know. That's pretty crazy. So I'm glad that we're doing this. Oh, that's just the washer, okay. Both have 2 washers, so we know that we didn't lose any washers. That's excellent. So we're gonna take out all the spark plugs first before we put any new ones in. That way there's no question as to what step of the process we are on. Spark plug number 2, let's go. We're just gonna use a shorter wrench, socket wrench, and hopefully that will work for the rest of these, although I'm sure we'll run into something. Let's get started here. See, so we feel a little bit of a pull. Again, these are not tight by any stretch of the imagination, which is good, because now we know however tight we're feeling is probably about how tight they need to be going back in. This one has a lot of friction though. It's not necessarily tight, it's just not smooth as I'm wrenching it out of here. It could also be just because I'm banging on a bunch of stuff surrounding it. Oh, we're feeling it. Still a little bit. Okay, there we go. So you'll know it's totally undone because when you look down in there, you'll see that the spark plug isn't sitting perfectly in the middle of the cylinder. You'll see that it's kind of leaning on the bottom. That's because it's been pulled out and it's just sitting there waiting to be grabbed. These pliers work fantastic. And again, another old tired spark plug here. We're gonna get the next one. We finally got all 4 spark plugs out of the passenger side of the 2UZ FE motor on my 2004 Toyota Sequoia. So now all we need to do is pop the 4 new ones in. Okay, so we got all 4 spark plugs out. You can see that they are looking pretty gnarly. All we're gonna do now is put our 4 new spark plugs into where the old spark plugs were and then put everything back together. So without touching the head of the spark plug, we're going to gently just place that in there. And I think we're gonna start on the hardest one, the back end of the motor here, just so that we can say we got it done. Here we go. I'll tell you what, overlanding outside of Moab, Utah was a super fun trip. I've just got a basic lift, a skid plate, and some all-terrain tires, and this thing is an absolute beast off-road. Even with open front and rear differentials, it just has the center locking diff and the transfer case. This thing exceeded all my expectations. This is obviously not a rock crawler or a rock climber, but it does the job if you're just trying to get to a remote campsite, which is exactly what I like to do. All right, so I'd say that's about tight enough. Okay, so we're a little late in the install, but this Denso box does have a QR code that says please scan for proper torque information and install instructions with some warning signs on it. So just to be sure, before we do the other 7 spark plugs, we're gonna check that QR code out. Wiper blade, install instructions. Well, this is annoying. Brake pads, battery, alternator, air filter. Looking for installation instructions. Click here. No installation guides found that match that search. 2004 Toyota Sequoia, V8 4.7 liter, SR5 trim, spark plugs. All right, well, thanks Denso. Appreciate the help. I don't know if I'm in the frame or not if you're just looking at my hands, but I'm sorry if I've been making weird faces. Okay, here we go. So we're feeling that tightness. We're tightening just a little bit past it, and that's it. We don't want to over tighten these. Again, dropping it in. If there's a more graceful way to do that, someone in the comments let me know. All I know is just to drop it in and it kind of falls. If there's an easier way to do that, I am all ears. Okay, so the middle 2 are gonna be easiest. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so last but not least, for the passenger side, all we're going to do is put all of these ignition coil packs back in their corresponding holes. We're gonna tighten the bolt back on with a 10mm socket wrench, and then we'll repeat the process on the driver's side. I'm not gonna show you guys the driver's side. I feel like this is already example enough. You've got the dipstick, you've got other hoses and wires, so it might be a little bit trickier to get into those holes, but you can absolutely still do it. But do let me know in the comment section down below if you do have any questions about the driver's side. I know that it is a slightly different setup. There's a bit of like a burn mark or something there. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but I mean, it still looks fine. The wiring harness looks fine. The ignition coil packs were replaced, like I said, by a mechanic for me when I first bought the vehicle, when I wasn't as familiar with the motor and when I didn't have the time to do these things myself. After running through a couple bad mechanics and not having as much money and having a lot of time, I decided that it was about time to start learning how to do these kinds of things on my own. People talk all the time about vehicles needing to be newer and more efficient, but I think what you trade for that is you get, you open up the hood of a brand new car and it's stuffed with computers, and it takes a master technician with years and years of technical training to make this serviceable. Whereas this is something that anyone can pick up. I mean, a basic V8 engine with tons of space to get your hands in here, totally bulletproof, well tested, a very large aftermarket and repair forum community. This is an excellent vehicle, an excellent motor, any vehicle with this motor. The Lexus GX from this time has it, the Land Cruiser 100 series has it, some 4Runners came with the 2UZ motor, and then of course the Sequoia and the Tundra. Tons and tons, cheap parts. Labor is super simple on these things. So if you're like me and you're mechanically inclined, but you just haven't tried things yet, this is a great motor to learn these things on, and I hope that you do. The point that I was trying to make with the new motors and everything is that this is gonna outlast a lot of newer cars on the road with more technology in them. I can guarantee you that, because it's simple, underpowered construction and engineering. The beauty of this motor is that the first generation of them only has 220, 230 horsepower, which is insanely low power for a V8. This is an old school V8 Nothing complicated, nothing to rack your brain about. Everything is fairly simple, and it's a fantastic motor, and I've loved it for the past 3 years that I've owned it. Okay, so we've got our 4 ignition coil packs back in. Now we're just going to clip each respective harness back on, and you should hear a nice little click when that happens. Easiest part of the job, putting everything back together, right? So last one. So these back ones are gonna give you just a little bit of trouble, but I have the utmost confidence in you. If I can do it, so can you. There we go. I hope you learned a few things from my little mistakes. This is a super simple process. Again, this is a super easy engine to work on, but if I can change the spark plugs on my truck, I think you can too. Hopefully this saves you some time, some money, some heartache, some headache, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.